It is time to get gardening, and with that, it's time to consider what you might do this year to make your garden eye-catching, even enviable. The key could be in finding something that's a little bit different, a little bit unique, and that's why we roll out a few new options for you in the form of sort of a spring fashion show on the Studio 5 Plaza every year. Lloyd is joining me for that. You're our fashion expert.
I am today.
Our spring fashion show. Well, talk to me about this. A lot of people might not realize that flowers actually change a little bit year to year.
They change a lot from year to year, yeah, and that's the best part of my job, Brooke, is I get to go all over the world and meet with breeding companies that do these changes and see what the best is that they have to offer that year, and then we bring them back and we trial them, and we're looking 2 or 3 years out sometimes before we release something. We want to make sure that new unique color is cool and that people are going to want it, but then we want to make sure it grows well in our climate too. So we have trial gardens and we put them in, and we're looking, like I said, 3 years out to see what all these new varieties are going to be.
So are these year-to-year changes more about aesthetic changes like color and look, or are they also about improving actually the quality and the hardiness of the plants themselves?
You know, it's all of the above, plus more. They also improve the habit and how it grows and whether it makes a mounding shape, where the flowers sit on top of the plant or down low, and all those types of things are always improved every year.
There's so much more than we think about. I look at pretty color and pretty flowers, and you're thinking from the underneath up.
Exactly, but we're going to talk mostly today on the new colors because that's the most interesting thing.
Well, and I think it interests gardeners, home gardeners, to know they can switch things up year to year. So let's dive into your list. First, we have a whole new batch of Calibrachoa, right?
So Calibrachoa, that's right. They're kind of called a mini petunia, although they're not really a petunia. They're actually better performing than a petunia in my opinion. They're great because they trail and mound, so they're great in containers by themselves, or they work perfect in the landscape. And the coolest thing about Calibrachoa is different than most petunias is when we get into the bicolor and tricolor type colors.
So what's new this year?
So these all are new. This is one of my favorites that just came out called Evening Star, and it's a tricolor.
We don't often see, 3 colors, and we don't often see purple and yellow, I feel like, paired together.
So I love whenever we put a contrasting color. You know I like yellow and white for my contrasting colors. I love when we put that in the middle of a darker color. So this yellow makes that whole dark color pop, and then it'll play well with other yellows in a combination or something like that.
Yeah, that's a statement. I like this guy, double pink.
Yeah, and this has got that Hawaiian vibe. It's called Aloha Tiki, light pink. And
I want to meet and shake the hands of the people who name these plants.
Again, it has 3 colors, but the yellow's a little bit more down in the throat on this one, so you can't quite see it as much. But I like it because of that dark purple center with the light pink. It's always tough to use light pastel colors in the landscape. It's tough they kind of get muddy if you use too much of them. And so I like to make them pop with darker colors, and this has it all in one flower with that darker magenta center.
For you. Is it too early to say a favorite? I mean, we're just barely getting to your list, but that's really, really eye-catching.
It might be too early. We got a lot to show today.
I love that one so much. Down front, what are we seeing?
Well, I love these punches. So Proven Winners makes their Super Bells Punch series, and the punch means a really dark, almost black center, but the way it makes it contrast really makes it shine, and so I love that black or dark center on any of these. So there's Pomegranate Punch and Coral Berry Punch is the one we were showing.
I'm noticing Dreamsicle on the list, and that just sounds appetizing.
It does. A lot of these flowers make you hungry for dessert, but Dreamsicle is a newer orange color that's been hard to get in Calibrachoa.
Pretty. Okay, what's next?
So next we have Celosia Dragon's Breath, and these are just babies. So they're starting to bloom right now. These are really more buds than blooms. These plumes get huge, Brooke.
How huge?
They'll get like probably a foot tall and really wide, hence the name Dragon's Breath. They look like a breath of fire coming out of that plant, and the foliage gets that darker red as the heat goes on in the summer. So this is a great summer plant. We call it blazing color. It works great all summer long, and it's just now coming into bloom, but this is perfect in a container as a thriller.
Oh wow, yeah.
But even better massed out in the landscape in a flower bed as a backdrop.
What a statement. A red's a good neutral, we know, a color neutral that pairs so nicely with other colors. That's amazing. Dragon's Breath. All right, Coleus. There's a whole new crop of Coleus you're excited about.
So Coleus is great for the shade, and we're having a hard time finding a lot of different options for the shade. There just aren't as many. So breeders are working hard on coming up with new colors of Coleus. We grow Coleus for the foliage. It's not a great bloomer, and if it does bloom in the yard, we try to snip those off, and that's one thing breeders are working towards, is they're trying to get rid of that bloom, actually. So we can concentrate on putting all the energy into the foliage, but what's even cooler is the unique shape. So this is called mint mocha.
Oh my gosh.
And it's the shape of the leaves that really causes interest here, plus it's got that spackled speckled, what do you call it? I don't know.
Amazing.
It's just a cool look in the blooms and great color for shade.
I love that. Love that, love that. All right, next.
So Kahori dianthus is one of my favorite, and it came out a few years ago, but now it came out in pink only. Now they're breeding new colors. There's 3 colors now, and we put it in Home Depot in a Nature's Nutrients pot.
Okay.
The reason why is it attracts pollinators. So if you mass this out in the bed like we're showing on the screen, this is tons of beautiful color. It's super bright, and you're going to have that added benefit of butterflies and hummingbirds visiting the yard.
You've taught me over the years to appreciate like not just the color and the aesthetics, but the movement it can give to a garden, and this has a really pretty movement to it.
It does. It's kind of breezy right here, but
Yeah.
massed out in a bed, that would be just beautiful.
All right, we're looking at French lavender, and I was in Washington, D.C. not too long ago, and these were everywhere.
So these are a perennial, but they've always been tender in our market. And we talked a couple weeks ago about the lavender trees.
Right.
It's the same variety. This is the bush form. You can put this right in the landscape. The tree variety makes it not as hardy just because it's up above the ground and not as protected. But this Anouk variety of French lavender just came out a couple years ago, and it was bred for hardiness. So just like you said earlier, this one's meant to stay in the summer here.
Meant to survive.
Normally, French lavenders are a zone above us. We're zone 6 here. They went down to zone 7, so we'd lose a lot of them in the winter. This one should come back from year after year after year as a perennial.
Okay.
Just make sure you buy it in the bush form if you want that perennial factor.
Okay. This next one has 4D on its label. How come?
So the big problem with osteospermum African daisies is that they close up in the dark. And so early morning before the sun comes out, you don't see as much color. And so these were bred, first came out 3D a few years ago, now 4D is just an enhancement. And the point is it's a double osteospermum, and that double flower, that frilly center, keeps it from closing up at night. And so this osteo has full color all day long and night long.
24 hours a day, you're going to see the color.
And there's a new color this year in this yellow that wasn't out before, and it's actually 2 colors of yellow, the darker center and then the lighter petals.
Look how happy. All right, if I'm reading my notes correctly, you're promising this next one is deer resistant. That's going to perk up a lot of ears.
It is, and all African daisies are deer resistant, but this is my favorite flower of 2018.
It's stunning. Favorite?
It's my favorite
On
by
record?
far. And the reason why is we had kind of a close flower like this about 20 years ago with the dark purple center and the light outer yellow, but it went away because of disease issues. And this just came back a couple years ago, and I love it because that bright yellow makes everything stand out, and you can match it with not just that shade of purple, but any shade of pink or purple makes that whole thing pop and stand out.
And this is called?
Blue-eyed beauty African daisy.
Blue-eyed beauty.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
it's got that beautiful blue eye.
You're right. I called my favorite way too early. All right, this next one, there's a lot to love about it. It can survive the heat, I understand, and it attracts our friends, the hummingbirds.
Exactly. So verbenas love the heat, but they still need water throughout the heat. But this one's bred to be a bicolor verbena, and those are all the rage right now. There's a lot of different colors of bicolor. This is one of my favorite just because of the name. Makes me think of food again. It's called mango.
Mango!
And so this one, it'll do great in a basket all summer long. Or in the landscape as well.
I love the color, just the punchy red and pink together. You've given us a lot to look at and a lot to look forward to. What's here?
So I want to talk really quick about a new idea we have. So this is not necessarily new genetics in flowers, but this is a new idea called living pavers. If you've got an area that's got a lot of traffic, these varieties are all bred to take a lot of traffic.
Okay.
And so we call them living pavers because they're meant to go between hard pavers and add some living life to that section.
Nice,
so if you've got some flagstone, you can set these down as a square, or you can take them out and cut them up.
Nice.
And put them in little spots and throughout the pavers and make kind of a softer appeal to that hardscape.
Talking that texture and that color in every cranny of our yard. Will these be available in the flower centers this year?
They're all available right now, except the Dragon's Breath is maybe a week away.
Week away. We'll look forward to that. Thank you.
Thanks,
This was
Brooke.
really fun. Getting excited to get gardening for spring and summer 2018.